What's up, Headbangers? This is TNT here from Sydney metal bands Ethereal Realm and Visualis, and you're watching Chapter 3 of my series, Testimonies N Testaments, as part of Headbangers Australia. Big shout out to those guys for putting this on. Today we'll be having a chat with Tom Englund from the legendary Evergrey, promoting the new album, Architects of a New Week. Welcome to the show. Welcome. This is my series called Testimonies N Testaments, and this is Headbangers Australia. It's an absolute pleasure having you and Evergrey. The new album.
Thanks for having me.
No worries at all.
Hey, nice background.
Yeah.
I should get that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Why not? I thought I'd set it up properly,
Perfect. Love it.
Let's start with the title, Architects of a New Weave. Now, this kind of resonates with me personally as well, because I actually, professionally, I am an architect. I've been working as an architect for 10 plus years here, but it's also, I'm a nerd. So growing up, I played a lot of video games, and one of those games was Prince of Persia, Warrior Within, and one of the standout quotes from that game was, I am the architect of my own destruction, which was basically the quote encapsulating the game's themes of fate, choice, and consequences of one's action. So with a title like this, what does it signify for the individual tracks and also for the album as a whole?
I mean, exactly that. The thing is, that was the first video game I ever played, Prince of Persia. So maybe that somehow,
there you go.
Amiga 500, and me and my buddy played on it. But that's maybe that got stuck in my head somehow, because that's actually exactly what it's about. It's about how we are not only responsible, and obviously I know that people are born with different. Living in Scandinavia, we have a much easier than growing up in a third world country. Obviously, that changes your perspective and your choices in life. But you still have to make the best of what you got. I think that's the main thing here. And also, I think that growing up in the world today, being young, is not easy, and I really appreciate that, because everybody's telling you who to be. I once said that it's important to know who you are before somebody tells you who to be, and everybody's telling you who to be today. It's social media, it's the news, it's your parents, it's your siblings, your friends, and so that's my sort of tip to the world. Try to find out who you are before somebody tells you to be. It's like that's the most important thing that you got going for you. And when you know who you are, that took me 40 years. And hopefully it will take much less for somebody else, but when you know who you are, then it's so much easier to notice the distractions that you should not pay attention to. Okay, that's not me. I shouldn't look at this. I shouldn't do that. And Architects of a New Weave is my sort of hymn to young people today, that to tell them and show them that it's you who are creating the future for us. And I think the world today, the young world today, is much brighter than the old world is, especially looking at the people running the world today. I think the young world, it's going to be a revolution of some sort, whether it be in connection with the AI and the young people. And I just hope that somebody discovers compassion and humanity again, rather than power and money, So, I guess the album stems from all of that which is around us today, And the next single is called "The World Is on Fire." Obviously, it's not a hymn that celebrates war. It's rather an uprising against a world that I don't accept, So,
I completely agree with you. I think, there is a lot of pressure on the young folk of today to follow in certain footsteps, but you got to forge your own path, because every generation is different. The things that were there during our parents' generation, not really available today. And, the next generation, you can already see they're like miles ahead, and we don't know what's we can't define the shape or the path for them. You know, you gotta make your own path. Whatever is the adversity that comes across. No, I agree.
And I mean, honestly, the only thing that you are in control of is your mind, right?
That's right.
Even if you would have a disability that you can move, for instance, you still have your mind, and that's your power. That's what you should use to create your reality, basically. So yeah,
that's it. Again, going back to the title, so Architects of a New Weave, album title, but I noticed that the single was called Architects of the New Weave. Why was that subtle change made there? Like, I noticed it was very much like I had to go into the details there. It's like, oh, okay, you know, they changed the to a the. Like, what's happening here?
because I mean, obviously, the album is a general description of what I think the world could do. It's about that there are multiple ways to choose, while as the album song is my way. I'm talking about myself, you know. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So yeah, I've had a chance to like listen to the whole album, and as always, Evergrey's albums, the production is very polished, which is awesome, and very atmospheric, you know, especially like with the intro track that you had, Welcome to the Pattern. It's a very ominous intro. It's not something that I expected starting the album. I was like, oh, okay, this is a bit different, but you know, this is cool. What are you trying to? It kind of sets the tone for what's to follow, but like, what are you trying to signify to the audience here, listening to it?
That it's serious. That life is serious, and in order to make life light and bright, you need to take it seriously. You know, that's probably setting the tone for the album. And obviously showing that there are, for instance, like the Shadow Self, the first song, it's about my struggles. It's about knowing that I within me, in my DNA, probably have a side of me that doesn't handle things very well in terms of anger and also depression throughout the years, you know. So but that you also can change it, you know, that it can become a strength as long as you sort of meet your demons, become friends with them, get to know them, then you know who they are, and then you're not afraid of them anymore, at least, you know. So
yeah, no, fair enough. So would you say like the album is more like a personification of what you're going through individually, or like do the other members of the band also feel the same way, or are you driving the concepts for these songs and stuff in the album?
yeah, I mean, it's always been about me, my perspective since I sing and write the lyrics, obviously.
Yeah.
We have had songs throughout the years that have been about. We had a song from the last album called Ghost of My Hero, which is about Johan's dad's passing. So those, I mean, it's about the world as we live it and see it. And it's about the individuals that are within our lives. So in that aspect, it's definitely also showing, you know, the other members' reality, because obviously we travel together 200 days a year, but like, I guess they see what I see, but but you know, it's my perspective, definitely. Yes.
Now, one of the other tracks that stood out for me was A Burning Flame. And I noticed that you got like your fellow Gothenburg iconic vocalist Mikael Stan on it. How did you come across, you know, to get Mikael to get it? Are you guys just mates? Does he live around the corner, you know, in Gothenburg? I don't know, I've never been there, but like, or did you like while writing, did you feel that, okay, I want Mikael's vocals on this because of what he does in Dark Tranquility or Halo Effect or even Cemetery Skyline, all these other projects?
Yeah, it was all of that, but it all stemmed from a wall painting that I saw on a wall when I was young, and it basically said that you should burn, you should be a burning flame forever. So burn until you die, and when you stop burning, you know, it doesn't really translate great to English. Maybe I should make a translation actually, but because the second you start fading, you know, and you become embers instead, you know, then inspiration and everything dies. But during the time I was writing this song, I learned that Thomas Lindberg from At the Gates was ill, and that got me thinking about how he had been a sort of beacon in both me and Stannes, Michael's lives, and so many more, obviously. But since we were in the same scene, I was just thinking about how we're nowadays three vocalists that have taken our different bands into different success levels, but still made it as musicians somehow, and how Thomas back in the day inspired me and Stanley to become musicians, you know. And actually, when I wrote the song, I heard 70 Skylines, Michael Stanley, on the vocals, which I really love their debut album.
Yes,
and
it's fantastic.
We toured with God Tranquility and everything, so we are buddies, absolutely. But so I just heard his voice on it, and then he came here and we sang it together. And when he did his vocals, I rearranged my vocals a little bit, so now it's sounding like a seamless. He's sounding a bit like me, I'm sounding a bit like him. It's even hard to determine who's doing what.
You're rubbing off one another, basically.
Yeah, I really love that. So yeah, it's and I hope that someday, or maybe even today, we can inspire younger musicians to seek out the life of being a touring musician, because it's a great one. It's a hard one, but it's a lifelong gift, I would say. We played a show in Hellfest in France, and right after the show, my sound guy came running to the dressing room, which is quite a far away from the stage, you know, and it was like 40 degrees outside, super hot, and we were sitting there naked, sweating in the dressing room, and our sound guy comes in and said, "Dude, you will never believe who stood by me the whole show," and it was Steve Harris. And I was like, "Come on, why couldn't I experience that?" And it's you know, because he's also a great Maiden fan, our sound guy Federico. So, but then it takes like 2 minutes, and I see my guitar player. He's sitting next to me, and he said, "There he comes!" And I was like, who?" I was like, and he was jumping over me. And so Steve Harris came to our dressing room and said that, "Guys, that was absolutely fantastic." And we took some pictures. And I said, "Don't forget this now next week when I call you and say that we want to open for you, like every other band in the world." You know, and he took my hand very sincerely, and he said, looked me in the eye, and he said, "I will never forget," he said. And then fast forward 2 years later, we got these major stadium shows with them.
That's fucking awesome. That's awesome.
It's and it's definitely a dream come true. It's one of those things that I dreamt about since I was 11. So yeah, very, very fucking cool.
Well, congrats on that. Definitely, like, to the whole band, definitely. I want to take shift gears now and talk about the album artwork. Right, as you can see, I have it behind me. It's one of so basically, my point of entry for Evergrey was 10 years ago with The Storm Within, Passing Through. I love that song. I play that on repeat. And what I really like about bands is when they have very cohesive artwork, which you guys tend to have. And I've noticed that with all your discography, it's mainly like a blend of like hues of gray, blue, and orange, right? And it's very intricate and detailed, as you can see behind. It was only the last album, Theories of Emptiness, where it was the silhouette of a skull with of a head, actually, with the constellations in the brain, which was a very minimalistic design, you know, which I was like, oh, that's very interesting that you guys chose that part. But now you're back to this whole, you know, thing, detailed stuff. So I guess what was the shift there, you know, if you could explain?
It's not, honestly, it's based on the music. It's based on where we went and where we were going, and obviously it was about the title of the album, Theories of Emptiness. All of these constellations that you see is actually symbolizing emptiness. So so that was that, and it's the same guy doing this one. And that,
wow.
And that's totally minimalistic, and this is watercolor, you know. So, and it's also the guy who did the Recreation Day cover, and Inner Circle cover, and the In Search of Truth cover, and the Torn album cover. So
wow,
bunch of stuff. So we've done all of it together, the minimalistic stuff, and also this more intricate super in-depth, in detail album artwork like this. And all of the songs has its dedicated artwork as well. So buy the big vinyl booklet, I would say, it's a real treat.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, because even if you look at this artwork here, it's like, I'm guessing this is the architect weaving, things. He looks like a puppet master as well. But it's like, if you look really closely, you'll see like certain numbers, certain words,
It's
something about
hundreds of
God.
nuggets in it. Yeah.
Yeah. So is that symbolizing lyrics from different songs within the album, or
Old albums, old quotes. It's like, peace of mind and somewhere in time,
the
and that's
Easter
what I
eggs,
got. Yeah, man. It's I want it to be, which is why also you should get the vinyl, because even if you don't have a vinyl player, you get to see the artwork more
Oh, no,
properly.
100%. I tend to do that.
It's a puppet master, yes, but I would say that this is your higher self, I would say, in my mind. So that's you sitting there with the threads to control your life.
That's fantastic. All right. So you touched early on where you do the vocals and you play guitars, you write the lyrics. So do you see yourself first as a vocalist and a guitarist second, or is it the other way around?
It was many years until I considered myself being a vocalist. I think it was up until the sixth or seventh album where I was sort of presenting myself as because it was like, yeah, I play guitar in Evergrey. Oh yeah, and I sing too. It's like, and now it's like, I guess I'm saying I'm the vocalist of Evergrey first, but still guitar playing is part of my DNA. And
I asked that because like I'm a vocalist of two local Sydney bands here. One is Ethereal Realm power metal band, and the other one is Visualis, which is a melodic metal band. And I can't play other instruments. I can sing, and that's what I do. So I always have this like level of respect for people who can like sing the way you sing and also play.
thank you.
Which really like actually brings me to the other question is at which point of Evergrey's career or which single was it that Arjen van Lucassen reached out to you and said, look, we need to collaborate to do Arion, the shows. So I'm very, very fascinated by that. And, I was there at the O1 shows in 23, and you were fantastic.
Cool.
You were fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's the merch from there. So yeah, how did that come about?
I mean, obviously, I was on the album, and he asked me. I can't remember what album I was on at the time, but I think maybe like after Inner Circle or something. Yeah, but I mean, Arjen reached out during. I mean, it's 20 years ago now, right? During the time we went to Australia, I guess it's like
wow.
Back then. And then I went to sing on that. I don't even know when that album is from. Maybe you know that better.
No, I mean, the thing is, like, I've heard these stories on how he contacts people, because I know that Britney Slays from Unleash the Archers, I heard he found like a YouTube video of Britney singing after one of her shows, karaoke or something, and that's how he reached out to Britney. And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. I would love to hear all these individual stories, which is why I thought I'd ask you. Like, I don't know, I'm not talking about maybe 01.
He just emailed me and said, "Hey Tom, I mean, we've been in the same genre, same record label at the time, and so it wasn't that hard to reach out." And then we did there in Tilburg, and it was nerve-wracking, but such an honor, and hopefully we'll do it again.
Yeah, the Arion family. Like I went there in 23, and I went last year as well for the 30th anniversary. But I personally, the O1 shows were the best for me. In 2023, while I was traveling Europe, actually, I started at Wacken and I ended at Tilburg. That was my trip. So I actually saw Evergrey for the first time at Wacken 23.
Oh, wow.
And then I ended my trip in Tilburg, and I saw you then as well. And I do remember, like, amongst the mud and the rain and the chaos at Wacken, I think you guys were playing in the Avo. There was this camera. It wasn't a drone, but it was this camera on this like arm thing circulating around the crowd. I wanted to know, is that like the footage of that part of like some special live edition Evergrey album, or did it just go to the Wacken thing?
It goes to the Wacken.
It goes to Wacken. what message do you have for us Aussie fans, both the old and the new people who are discovering your music?
I mean, first of all, check out the two latest singles, Oxygen, which is a dark, brooding, intricate, progressive piece of 6 minutes and 20 seconds. And it's obnoxious, I would say. And then you have the more super easy listening sing-along Architects of the New Wave. And in between those worlds, this is where this album lives, and Evergrey is everything from the hardest brutal metal to very soft piano-based ballads. So if you never heard us, check out our songs and come to the show, because we really know how to play,
Fantastic, Tom. Thank you so much for your time, and we will see you all when you land down under.
Some ways to make this worth it.